to this now. The Independent Electoral Commission will today launch the 2021 municipal elections. A talking point will be former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke's review on whether the vote should go ahead in October, given the COVID-19 pandemic. eNCA's Govan Whittles has this report. All right, actually, I'm told we have Govan live for us. My apologies for that. And Govan, expecting to hear from the IEC about elections 2021. The conversation has been happening about, what are they able to reveal, given that there's a whole review going on that is headed up by former DCJ Dikgang Moseneke.
Yeah, that's right, Tulasizwe, and it's difficult to say what the former Deputy Chief Justice will decide in terms of the viability of the elections in October. But from the IEC side, they still have some work to do, and this launch of the 2021 municipal elections is meant to launch the voter registration weekend and get as many people registered as possible. And we're only expecting the report from former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke after that registration weekend, which is in about a month or a month and 1 week. So that's what the IEC is launching here. It's basically to say what their message will be for this year's local government elections. Remember, in 2029, the IEC went with the phrase eNCA to try and garner some awareness in the public and get people to the polls. And that's essentially what they're launching here today. There, of course, will be representatives of the political parties as well as a different number of people from the government and civil society. But the IEC is, with this launch, indicating that it plans to register people as soon as possible and as many people as possible, regardless of what Dikgang Moseneke may find in his review. Remember, the President has indicated that the elections could happen on the 27th of October, but that date hasn't been promulgated yet by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. And until that is done, that date is merely what they would like to have happened. And whether or not it happens on that day will be in part a result of the report from Dikgang Moseneke, but also what the Health Department is telling the National Coronavirus Command Council in terms of what's expected around that time. And then the critical question, Tulasizwe, is whether or not enough elderly people would have been vaccinated by that time for them to go to the polls, because that would have been a serious concern at this point. And there are a number of considerations we understand being currently taken by Dikgang Moseneke and his team, particularly around people who are above 40 and up to 75, who form the majority of South Africa's voter base. So what we're seeing here is the launch to say that the registration will go ahead, but as yet that date of 27 October is not confirmed, and there's still a number of variables that could affect it.
Yeah, Govan, you had a bit of a slip of the tongue there. You spoke about the campaign for 2029. Unless you've managed to get into time travel, it was 2019 that the slogan was eNCA, meant to appeal to younger people. So in terms of the modalities, though, Govan, the voter registration is absolutely important for the IEC, is it not? I mean, that slogan from 2019 was meant to appeal to younger people. I do imagine that, when they come up with a slogan today and the campaign itself, the communications campaign, it will be a signal of what their priority is with election 2021.
True, and we've also seen a clear indication from the IEC that they do want more young people to partake in the elections. In these by-elections that we've recently had, Tulasizwe, the turnout from the communities was low. It was expected to be low, but it's still concerning. And we saw from the IEC that they would like to attract more young people in these by-elections. We're expecting them to follow through with that and elaborate more on what their plan would be this time to attract younger people to the polls. And even though we saw a respectable voter turnout in 2019, these local government elections are happening after the last local government election saw widespread non-attendance or boycotts, essentially, by people who didn't vote, where we saw one of the lowest turnouts in local government elections. And it would be interesting to note how the IEC plans to get people to come to the polls this time around, considering the low turnout that we had in the by-elections and whether they attribute that to coronavirus, but also what they think may affect the turnout in these local government elections. It does seem that the turnout will be a major focus for them. They're trying to get as many people as possible on the voter roll, and of course they've already got more than 10 million addresses of the people that were on the voter roll as per that earlier Constitutional Court ruling. So it does appear that they're trying to build a bigger voter base, which is not dominated by people between the ages of 40 and up to 70, 75. But whether they'll get it right, it's too early to tell. If you look at the local government elections, or rather the by-elections that just happened, it doesn't seem like young people are heeding that call.
All right, thank you for that, Govan Whittles. Of course, the dynamic can sometimes be affected by the degree to which people are excited about the possibility of effecting change in their local communities, as we saw in 2016, that those who did show up were absolutely determined that their voices would be heard and they would effect change. That's eNCA's Govan Whittles out there watching the briefing that is coming up by the IEC that will be telling us a bit more about elections 2021, especially the voter registration process. And I suppose they have to continue to work as if, you know, there's no possibility of a change of plan around the 27th of October, even though there's that review that they are undertaking with Dikgang Moseneke. I suppose you don't stop planning if you are the IEC.